You know Tottenham built a stadium that's basically a spaceship. But did you know it's also one of the most jaw-dropping financial roller coasters in football history? Forget the old cliché of brick and mortar. This thing is more like steel, glass, and a bottomless bank account stitched together with Wi-Fi and beer taps. So, let's rewind the clock. Tottenham Hotspur, one of London's biggest clubs, were still playing at White Hart Lane not too long ago. White Hart Lane was beloved, tight, intimate, buzzing with atmosphere. But by the early 2000s, it was getting, let's be honest, a little cramped and creaky. Picture trying to run the Champions League from a stadium that felt like your nan's living room. Great vibes, but it wasn't cutting it for the modern game. The Premier League was exploding, money was raining down from TV deals, and Tottenham realized they couldn't just ride nostalgia forever. They needed something grander, something that screamed, "We're not just here to compete, we're here to dominate." The Northumberland Development Project began as a £350 to £400 million plan. Big money, but manageable in football terms. Then the extras rolled in. Retractable pitch, microbrewery, NFL setup. Before long, it wasn't a stadium anymore. It was a billion-pound spaceship that felt like Elon Musk might have drafted the blueprints. By 2019, Chairman Daniel Levy admitted the stadium cost about £1 billion. Later, edging toward £1.2 billion, or roughly £1.2 billion, $1.3 to $1.5 billion. That's billionaire-level money, and fans joked they weren't backing a football club anymore but a space program. So what does $1 billion buy? Not just bigger seats. Tottenham built Disneyland for football, complete with pints and the joy of taunting Arsenal. Let's start with the headline act, the retractable pitch. This is not just cool engineering, it's a magic trick. With the push of a button, the grass surface splits into 3 giant trays and slides away, revealing a synthetic NFL-approved field underneath. It's like saying, you want Premier League football today? Done. You want American football tomorrow? Easy. Tottenham literally designed their stadium to double as the London home of the NFL. Imagine explaining that to fans back in the 80s. Yeah, Spurs are going to share their pitch with guys in helmets and shoulder pads. People would have thought you'd had one too many pints. And speaking of pints, this stadium pours them faster than anywhere else on the planet. Literally. They installed a system called bottoms-up beer. Instead of pouring from the top, cups are filled from the bottom, sealed by magnets. You put your cup down, beer shoots up, and boom, you're served in seconds. No waiting, no foam disasters, just a river of golden lager flowing straight into your hands. Spurs didn't just build a stadium. They built a beer factory with a football pitch attached. In fact, they even have their own microbrewery inside the stadium. That's right, Spurs can actually brew their own beer on site. White Hart Lane had history. The new stadium has hops. But it's not all about beer and football. The place doubles as a concert venue, capable of hosting 60,000 fans rocking out to the biggest names in music. Beyoncé, Guns N' Roses, Lady Gaga, you name it, the stadium's played host. It also has a skywalk where fans can strap in and literally walk along the roof of the stadium like they're auditioning for a James Bond stunt. Imagine paying for a stadium tour and ending up dangling over the pitch like Spider-Man. That's the kind of extra Tottenham built into this palace. The details go even deeper. There's a Michelin star-level restaurant experience for those who like their match day with a side of fine dining. There's an in-house bakery, artisan cheese room, and even a gin distillery. Yes, you heard that right. Tottenham Hotspur runs a distillery inside their stadium. Somewhere between kickoff and halftime, somebody's bottling small-batch gin. This isn't just a stadium. It's Willy Wonka's factory for adults who love football. Now obviously, all of this comes with a price tag that makes your eyes water. And while the features are jaw-dropping, the financial story behind it is just as insane. Spurs financed much of the project with loans and debt, which ballooned thanks to construction delays and cost overruns. By 2019, reports suggested the club had borrowed nearly £637 million from banks. Later, they refinanced with massive loans from institutions like Bank of America and Goldman Sachs. So yeah, Tottenham owes Wall Street a thank you card every time they sell a pint of lager. Without sounding cliché, because this isn't just a twist in the tale, the stadium was meant to be a money-printing machine, hosting NFL games, concerts, boxing matches, rugby, anything that brings in crowds. And it worked. The revenue potential of this stadium is enormous. Matchday income skyrocketed. Before the pandemic, Spurs could pull in over £4 million per home game. That's not counting all the side hustles, beer sales, merchandise, Beyoncé tickets. For context, White Hart Lane barely scratched £1 million per match. The new stadium quadrupled that. In other words, this was Daniel Levy's masterstroke. Spend a fortune up front, rake in fortunes for decades. But timing is everything. Remember, the stadium opened in April 2019. 1 year later, the world shut down thanks to COVID-19. No crowds, no concerts, no NFL, no nothing. Tottenham's billion-pound spaceship suddenly sat empty. Instead of printing money, it was bleeding interest payments on loans. Fans weren't just worried about the team on the pitch. They were worried the stadium itself could turn into an albatross around the club's neck. And for a while, the financial squeeze was brutal. The club posted heavy losses, debts piled higher, and critics wondered whether Levy had overreached. Yet, as crowds returned, so did the cash flow. Slowly, the stadium began fulfilling its destiny as a multi-event super venue. And you know what? In hindsight, the gamble looks smarter than ever. Sure, it nearly broke the bank during the pandemic. But now, with events selling out and the NFL locked into a long-term London deal, Spurs have a weapon no other English club can match. Arsenal's Emirates feels dated by comparison. Chelsea are still dreaming of upgrades. West Ham's London Stadium? That's a rental. Tottenham have a crown jewel all their own. And let's not ignore the psychological power of it. For years, Spurs fans had to endure the nearly club tag. Great teams, great players, but never quite making it over the line. This stadium, though, sent a message. Tottenham weren't just renters in London's football scene, they were landlords. This is the kind of infrastructure that elevates a club from plucky contender to heavyweight. You walk into that place, and you can feel the ambition humming through the walls. Of course, the jokes write themselves. Arsenal fans love pointing out that Tottenham spent over £1 billion on a stadium, but forgot to buy trophies to go with it. And, fair enough, the silverware cabinet hasn't exactly exploded since the grand opening. But the stadium wasn't built for short-term bragging rights. It was built for the next 50 years. And in that sense, it's hard to argue Spurs don't now have one of the best foundations in world football. Quite literally. Let's pause for a second to appreciate the design. The stadium seats over 62,000 people, making it the largest club stadium in London. The roof is a sweeping ring of steel and glass, acoustically engineered so that the roar from the stands stays trapped inside, bouncing around like thunder in a drum. It's deafening, and that's exactly what Spurs wanted. Intimidation through acoustics. Even the single-tier South Stand, holding 17,500 fans, was designed as a wall of noise. Think of Borussia Dortmund's Yellow Wall, but dressed in lily white. And if you're worried about missing the action while you're at the bar, don't. The stadium is fitted with nearly 1,800 HD screens so you can watch from anywhere, whether you're sipping a beer in the concourse or grabbing a pie. No more sprinting back to your seat because you heard the crowd erupt. You'll see it on screen while holding your pint. That's modern football convenience. It's also incredibly tech-savvy. The stadium boasts full 5G connectivity, smart ticketing, and some of the most advanced security systems in football. It's like they thought of everything. At one point, Levy even joked that the stadium is more advanced than some airports. He wasn't wrong. You could probably run an international summit inside without missing a beat. And here's something casual fans might not realize. Tottenham's stadium isn't just about Spurs. It's about turning North London into a global entertainment hub. Levy pitched it as a 365-day-a-year business, not just 25 match days. Boxing? Check. NFL? Absolutely. Rugby? Yep. Concerts? All summer long. Even esports events have been floated. Tottenham essentially built a Swiss Army knife of stadiums, flexible, futuristic, and always ready to generate revenue. So let's zoom out. Was it worth it? On paper, the debt is still scary. Tottenham have to manage repayments that could weigh down transfers for years. Some fans blame the stadium for why Spurs don't splash as much cash as the Manchester clubs or Chelsea. The argument goes, you built the palace, but now you can't afford the furniture. But others argue this is exactly the move that future-proofs the club. In an era where broadcasting deals could wobble and oil-funded rivals flex unlimited wallets, having a fortress that prints money every weekend is a serious advantage. Spurs are playing the long game. They might not buy a £100 million striker every summer, but they'll still be standing tall financially when others are wobbling. And let's be honest, it's hard not to be impressed. You walk into that stadium, and it's like stepping into the future. The glass glimmers, the steel curves, the concourses are wider than some airports. It's a football ground, yes, but it's also a statement. Tottenham Hotspur are not just participants in modern football, they're architects of it. So maybe, just maybe, spending $1 billion plus was the right move. Because in football, money talks. And Tottenham's stadium doesn't just talk, it roars. It tells players, sponsors, fans, and even rivals that this club is serious. That North London has a new landmark. That football isn't just about what happens on the pitch anymore. It's about the entire experience, from beer poured in 3 seconds to Beyoncé lighting up the night. And that's the story of Tottenham Hotspur's insane $1.5 billion stadium. It's part football ground, part concert hall, part beer factory, and part futuristic monument to ambition. It might have nearly bankrupted them, but it also might be the smartest gamble the club ever made. So the question is, was it worth every penny? Or is it just the world's fanciest pub with a pitch attached? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.